The lights in the studio were almost blinding to X. They cast long shadows on the floor and made everything around him look too big, too fast, like a world he didn't quite belong in. He felt small in his seat, hands folded tightly in his lap, his little legs swinging beneath him. The room smelled faintly of coffee and fresh paint, though he didn't know why. Everything felt so loud. The buzz of the cameras, the murmurs of the crew. It all felt like noise he couldn't escape. Steve Harvey sat across from him, his smile kind and his voice like a warm blanket. But X couldn't help the shyness in his chest. He wasn't used to being seen. He wasn't sure what to say. He had a lot of thoughts, but words were tricky, especially when the things inside him didn't always make sense. X, Steve said, his voice drawing him in like a soft breeze. You're not like other kids. I see something in you, something deep. Tell me, what do you want to do when you grow up? X paused. He wasn't sure how to explain it, but something inside him felt certain. I, I want to help people, he said slowly, his voice barely a whisper. I think that's the most important thing. Steve nodded, his eyes full of warmth. But how do you help, son? When you're just a kid, how do you help? X shifted in his seat, looking down at his shoes. He didn't have many answers, but he knew what he had seen. He remembered a time not long ago when he was at the park with his mom. He saw an old woman sitting on the ground, struggling to get up. A man had come over, knelt down, and helped her without asking for anything in return. It was simple, but it made something inside him stir. I saw a man help a lady once, X said, speaking carefully. She couldn't get up, and he just helped her. He didn't ask, he just did it because it was the right thing. Steve's smile deepened. That's a beautiful thing, X. You've got a heart full of love, and that's what the world needs more of. But do you ever wonder what drives that love inside of you? X looked up at Steve, thinking about the question. He remembered another moment, a quiet one, when he had been lying in bed, unable to sleep. His thoughts had wandered to a place he didn't fully understand. Something about God. He wasn't sure what it was exactly, but he knew he was there, always with him. A feeling that he could never explain, yet always feel. He hesitated before speaking again, his voice quieter now. I don't think I need to look for God, he said, his words simple yet filled with something powerful. I feel like he's always with me. Like he's always here, in my heart. Even when I don't see him, I know he's there. Steve paused for a moment, his expression softening. There was something different about the way X said it. It wasn't like he had learned it from books or stories. It was like X had experienced it, like he had felt God's presence in his own way, deep down in his soul. You've got it, son, Steve replied gently. You don't need to search for him because he's already inside you. That's the power of love, and that's the power of faith. You're living it, even when you don't know it. X nodded slowly. He didn't have all the answers, and maybe he never would. But there was something inside him, something he couldn't quite explain, that told him everything was okay. Like God was watching over him, holding him close, even if no one else saw it. I think he's been with me for a long time, X said, his voice quiet but sure. Like, even when I don't know what to do, he's there. I can feel him. Steve smiled, a deep, knowing smile. You're right, X. He's always there. And that's the most important thing you can carry with you. Not fame, not money, but that connection, that feeling that he's walking beside you every step of the way. X felt something shift in his chest, a lightness, like the weight of the world had been lifted just for a moment. He didn't know where the road would take him, but he knew he wasn't walking it alone. Not ever. The room felt warmer now. The lights didn't seem so harsh anymore. It was as if the world outside had faded into the background, leaving just Steve, X, and the quiet hum of their shared space. The air felt charged, like something unspoken lingered between them. Steve leaned forward slightly, his gaze soft but intense, as though searching for something deeper within X. He knew there was more to this boy than met the eye, something beyond his age, something that was not about wealth or fame, but about a purpose that was far greater. X, you said God's always with you. That's powerful, Steve said, his voice steady, filled with a reverence that X wasn't used to hearing. But how do you know he's really there? In all the noise, in all the distractions, how can you be sure? X sat back, his small hands now resting on his knees. He thought about the question carefully, feeling the weight of it. His gaze shifted to the floor, and for a moment he wasn't sure how to explain it, but he could feel it. The answer wasn't in words. It was in the stillness, in the way his heart seemed to slow when he thought of God. I just feel him, Steve, X said, his voice soft but clear. I know he's with me, not because someone told me to believe, but because I can feel him. Even when things are hard, even when I don't understand what's happening, I just know. Steve nodded slowly, taking in X's words. It was a rare thing to hear a child speak with such certainty, such assurance. Steve had seen many people try to find God in their lives, but X was different. He wasn't searching. He wasn't questioning. He had already found what so many spent a lifetime searching for. Peace. That's it, son, Steve said with a gentle smile. You've got it figured out. People spend their whole lives looking for God in all the wrong places. They look for signs, for miracles. But sometimes it's the quiet moments that speak the loudest. X looked up at Steve, his eyes wide with curiosity. But how do I help people feel the same way? How can I help them know that God's with them too? Steve leaned back, crossing his arms thoughtfully. You already are, X. You don't have to do anything extra. Just be yourself. Let your heart lead you. When you show kindness, when you help others, you're showing them a piece of that love. That's the real miracle. X's eyes brightened. It was simple, yet so powerful. He didn't need to be anyone else. He didn't need to prove anything. He just needed to love. And in doing so, he could share the same peace he felt with the world. Sometimes people don't know how to love themselves, X said quietly, almost to himself. But maybe if they see me help, maybe they'll see God in me too. Steve's heart swelled. He saw something in X that few adults ever understood. A child's pure belief, untouched by cynicism or fear, was a gift. And in that moment, he realized something. X wasn't just going to change the world. He was going to make it better, one small act of love at a time. You're already doing it, son, Steve said, his voice thick with emotion. You don't even realize it, but you're changing the world just by being you. Keep that heart, and you'll be unstoppable. Ash smiled shyly, a small but meaningful smile that showed the depth of his understanding. For the first time, he felt the weight of his words, the importance of what they were saying to each other. In that room, it wasn't just a conversation. It was a passing of wisdom, a moment where two souls connected in a way that transcended words. The studio had quieted. The lights, which once felt bright and almost overwhelming, now seemed like soft halos surrounding them. The crew was still in the background, but no one moved, as if they too felt the weight of what had just passed between Steve and X. X sat in the same chair, his small hands still resting on his knees, but his gaze had shifted. His eyes no longer looked uncertain or searching. There was a stillness in them now, a quiet peace that spoke volumes. Steve noticed it. The boy he had been speaking to just hours before was no longer the same. There was something more inside of him now, a deeper understanding. You know, X said after a long pause, his voice barely above a whisper, I used to think that God was just a thought, something far away. But now I think he's in everything, in the way people help each other, in the quiet moments, in the love that gets shared. Steve nodded, his heart swelling as he listened to X. It was as if, in the span of just a few hours, X had grown up in ways that most people didn't, no matter their age. You're right, X, Steve replied, his voice full of emotion. God isn't just some thought we have. He's everywhere. And the love you feel, that's him, working through you. That's how he speaks to us, and through each other. X's expression softened, a small smile forming on his face. But it wasn't a smile of triumph or pride. It was something deeper. A smile that reflected a quiet understanding, a connection that wasn't just about words, but about the bond that had been formed between them. You know, X continued, his voice now more assured, I used to think that being rich or famous was the most important thing. But now I think it's about helping others feel what I feel. I want them to feel that peace, that love. I want to show them that no matter what happens, God is always there. Steve's heart tightened with emotion. Here was a boy who had everything the world could offer, yet he sought something far greater. Not fame, not money, but the peace and love that could only come from a deep connection to something bigger than himself. Steve saw it clearly now. X wasn't just destined for greatness. He was destined for something even more powerful, a life rooted in love and service. And you're going to, son, Steve said, his voice firm with conviction. You're already doing it. You may not see it yet, but everything you've said tonight is going to change people's hearts. Your words will stay with them. You're showing them something they've forgotten to look for. X looked up at Steve, his eyes filled with quiet resolve. Maybe, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to show people that God's love is always with us, that it's never too late to start helping. Steve's smile grew wider, and for a moment, he was silent. He knew this conversation would stay with him forever, as it would with everyone who had been in that room. It wasn't just a talk. It wasn't just an interview. It was a shared moment of divine connection, a reminder that, despite the noise of the world, love and purpose were always within reach. The lights slowly began to dim, and the crew started to move again. But it felt as if time had stopped for a brief moment, as if the world itself had paused to listen to the truth shared between Steve and X. A truth that wasn't about fame or wealth, but about something far greater, the eternal love that surrounded them, and the quiet presence of God that had been with them all along. As the studio emptied, the quiet reverberated, and X walked off the stage. But the message he had shared, the love he had spoken of, lingered in the air, carried with him and with Steve Harvey, a reminder that even the smallest voices, like X's, could carry the weight of eternity. The interview between Steve Harvey and Elon Musk's son, X, was not just a moment for television. It was a passing of light, a moment where two souls connected on a level beyond the ordinary. It was a conversation about love, about peace, about the divine presence that touches us all. And as X so eloquently shared, the most important thing is not fame or fortune, but the ability to love, to help, and to serve. In a world that often forgets these simple truths, X's words served as a reminder that we are all, in our own way, called to serve something greater than ourselves. A reminder that love and purpose, rooted in divinity, are what truly give our lives meaning. Let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts below. Your perspective is valuable and might inspire others.